Thanks for checking out today's message. We highly encourage that you check out Ignitechurch.tv and let us know what God's doing in your life. Share your story with us. We believe that God's doing incredible things in your life, and we want to know about that. Now, today you're getting ready to hear a message from Pastor Heath entitled from our new series, How to Make America Great Again. Now, in this series, it's not all about politics and what you might think, but actually Pastor Heath is going to let us know what the Bible has to say, that we as Christians have certain responsibilities to live out, and that's how we make our country great.
That's Randall right there. So, yeah, you're awesome, dude. And Stephanie, we love you guys. Randall was such a, every week, most times you get to watch him up here just beat the dog crap out of his bass. And but behind the scenes, man, he's done so much incredible stuff. He's kind of the technology side of things. He's the one that got it all started and just moved into that. And he's been on staff with us here forever. And so they're moving on, and that's incredible. I'll never forget the moment where I said, "Man, I love this guy." Was just a couple of years ago. I was in one of my darkest moments, and he does a huge mic drop in a room. You don't need to know all the details that's going on. But he just like, Randall's like really quiet, man. But you push him to the edge. I call him Big Hurt. Big Hurt can drop bombs, man. And he just like slams his hand on the table. He's like, "We love each other. We are family." And anyways, I was just like, man, he is my guy right there forever and always. And so anyways, I love you, Randall, and Stephanie and his girls. And we wish you all the best. And there'll always be a spot here for you guys. And anyways, hey, today it's going to be a different type of experience. We're in the middle of this series, How to Make America Great Again. And can I just tell you something? Things are crazy right now. We're playing off the political theme of the election. And how nuts is this? This is better than any reality television show. It's crazy what's going on. And so I'll tell you this much. The last 2 weeks have it's really changed me. If you've missed the messages, they're online. You can follow us on social media and get a hold of those things. It's just been incredible. We've talked about some hard-hitting stuff, and today's no different. But the way that today's going to be presented is different. I have a very close and dear friend of mine that I talked to him, and we agreed to sit down and have a conversation. And so what we did, we filmed this conversation. The conversation, you need to know that it lasted for almost an hour and a half, and we've edited down to try to get in some sort of reasonable time frame about 30 minutes for you guys. And you need to watch this conversation. I know it sounds crazy, but I think we can all learn a lot if we'll sit down on the table and we'll talk to each other. And I won't give away who it is or anything like that. And if you don't know this guy, just know that he's close and a dear personal friend of mine, has been for a long time. So with that, here's week 3 of How to Make America Great Again.
But really, it's all of us who must overcome the crippling legacy of bigotry and injustice. And we shall overcome.
And so, my fellow Americans, ask not what your country can do for you, ask what you can do for your country.
All right, so this is my friend Shannon Lowe, and we've been friends now. It's almost 8 years, or it might be like 8 years, like the day that they're watching this at the church. You were like one of the first people ever to come to Ignite, and so you've been around the whole Ignite scene, been friends with me for that long, and so you're a dad, which is like your prize. That's what you'd rather be known for than anything else, probably.
Probably.
And you're, I don't know if we should say this, but you say you're very happily divorced.
Yes, I am happily divorced. Me and my wife have a great ex-wife have a great relationship.
Yeah. How old's your daughter?
She's 4 now. She'll turn 5 in March. And I think I was at the second service of Ignite ever.
Was it preview services or I don't know?
No, it was.
It started October 26th.
You were on 7th in Virginia, I believe, and I had gotten a flyer in the mail.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And I don't know. You may have been around a little bit longer before that flyer, but I at the time was looking for a church to join, and I went there and
We
checked
seen that
out
really
yours.
creepy flyer, like really strange flyers.
Yeah, it was this chick that had makeup just streaming down her face, and like I look back at it now and I'm like, wow, what an odd thing to attract me to church. This gothic chick crying.
Yeah.
But it seemed to go right up my alley, and decided to come check it out. And
Yeah, we was like, why is like all these tattooed guys and like the gothic type people coming? Well, maybe it's because exactly who we advertised to, you know. I don't know if we became like quick. I think we became kind of quick friends. Mm-hmm. So you joined the church, and you've always been in bands though, and it's going well.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, still a musician. I still play guitar sometimes. I got some guitars at the house. I got the guitar I played here at the church hanging up on the wall, and I would say the band has definitely become an extrinsic motivation for me now. Like in the beginning, it was definitely something I was passionate about, which I'm still passionate about.
Sure.
But now we have a label that requires us to release an album every year and stuff like that. So it isn't so much of a leisure type.
It's kind of a job.
Yeah, kind of become a job for me. And I'm in college right now, so that's kind of my main importance. Aside from being a father, my education comes before the band, but at the same time, we're able to maintain our tours.
So we become friends, and you start playing guitar on the worship team pretty quickly.
Yeah, kinda.
Did you play at the other location, or was it when we moved over here? I don't really remember the timeline.
I'm pretty sure it was whenever we moved over here.
But you played on the band for a few years, seemed like, right?
Yeah, it was probably about a year and a half, maybe 2 years.
Well, yeah, you're always like one of my favorite guys on stage to watch, because you'd always have this, Shane would have this move where you grab your guitar and you can go back. I think we still got videos on YouTube of you on the worship team, but you turn worship to Jesus into a metal show or something.
Right.
And so it was pretty fun to watch. Between you and then Randall looking like he was gonna break the stage and his keyboards by headbanging and stuff. So it was fun. It was fun times. And then you were really involved. I mean, Shannon used to be really involved here in all sorts of areas. You were mentoring a lot of the youth, and highly involved with the youth group, weren't you?
Oh yeah, I was super passionate about that. A funny story, I actually mentioned that on my resume for a behavioral health technician. So I actually spent more of the time in the interview discussing the things that I did as a leader in that group. Because I mean, overall, that was the most experience I have doing that. I'll be dealing with teenagers and that have behavior issues. So if anything, that was the most experience I have in that field, really. So
that's cool.
I was really passionate about it too.
Yeah.
I still am passionate about talking to the teenage group. I really like doing that. Kids love me. Kids love me somehow, and I don't know what it is. I'm not exactly a great role model, but I just try to do my best at life.
Yeah. Then something drastic. You just took a drastic shift in direction in your life, and that's what I don't want to talk to you. I don't really want to discuss as to why you made any decisions at all, but you made the decision to become an atheist, right? You're a proclaimed atheist, is that correct? Yeah. And so what kind of impact did that have on your personal life? How did that feel? Like, did you feel like the emotions were like, yeah, I'm going to show the world, or was it like, oh crap, I'm kind of scared to say how, just a crisis of faith? Is that?
Well, we're painting a picture here, so let me add a brush. It definitely wasn't one single thing that changed it. I think just the same way that what leads people to believe in a deity or a religion,
Sure.
or something like that. There's many steps that come along with that.
Yeah.
Whether it's a year of
Discovery.
different things happening, experiences, or whatever it is that you're learning about, or what you're going through, tragedy, flourishing, and all of these things kind of piled on into the overall decision. And the steps wasn't just like, you know what, close the Bible, I'm an atheist.
Yeah, no, I'm not trying to make it sound like
Right. It was actually one of the hardest decisions of my life.
Yeah.
It barricaded my mind with this constant struggle, and I was trying to compensate these things that didn't make any sense to me. I think at first I claimed agnostic, kind of a safe position. Whenever I decided that I couldn't maintain the faith in the Abrahamic God anymore, by proclaiming it, I was literally lying to people, and so I think that.
So you were just being really honest?
I was just being honest, and
Yeah.
by the time that everyone kind of got the news, it had already taken place about half a year, 7 months ago. I was just in the closet about it because I didn't know how to tell everyone. I didn't know how my family was going to react. I didn't know how my friends were going to react. And our band was a proclaimed Christian band. So even though we were kind of like the rebels of the Christian metal bands, whatever. But so I, whenever it happened,
So what did that look like? So you said, well, I was in the closet. What did the day you said, today's the day? How did you say it? You just yell it from a stage somewhere, or?
I had been receiving a lot of lashback on the Order of Elijah page due to like progressive posts.
Order of Elijah is your band.
Order of Elijah is my band,
Yeah.
yes. And I had made some progressive posts, whether it was sticking up for the rights of homosexuals or something as simple as taking a non-Republican stand politically. And we were just getting bombarded with Christians that were demanding answers. And I had been kind of living in this bubble of kind of confusing everyone around me. They could tell I was questioning things left and right, but I wasn't ever giving my stance. And finally, I had accepted where I was and where I had found myself in life. So I just came it was on a Facebook post, actually, as mediocre as that sounds. It was a Facebook post to the Order of Elijah fans that I just explained to everyone. It was kind of like saying, hey, I'm sorry, guys. I know I don't want anyone to be confused, but this is where I stand. And
How was that received?
It caused waves. I didn't expect it to go as viral as it did. But I think that there was something into those clickbait lines, because all the articles that were covering it was saying stuff like, Christian vocalist admits he's an atheist. And then they would take it off that line, and everything I said in my post would just whoosh, go straight out the door.
Now, if I'm hearing you correctly, you're sitting there saying that the media, the journalistic reporting, you mean they can take just something and skew it and do it to their own agenda?
No, I don't believe media is capable of something. Yeah.
I mean, I think we've both been, we both experienced that on a personal level.
For sure. And I think that's one of the reasons me and you relate so well is throughout the time that you were kind of discussing our little timeline of knowing each other, I know we've had ups and downs.
Oh, yeah.
And in a very strong way, I believe that is one of the core strengths of our friendship, because one thing that this world tends to sway towards is that forgiveness is something that we don't put enough emphasis on. And whenever it comes to relationships, the only way a good relationship, you can talk to any old 80, 90-year-old couple that's been married for 50 years, and you'll ask them, what's the key to your relationship? They'll say, well, you've got to learn to forgive the other person.
Sure.
Because that's one of the first things that I think a lot of relationships these days miss, the target on is their relationships are just disposable these days. And
I think our world has become so isolated. We've become isolated to just our own feelings are the only thing that matter. And there's a lot of shaming going on in this world right now. I mean, basically, if you don't believe the exact same thing as I believe, whether that's on a religious basis or an educational basis, or even if you don't believe the same way that we should raise our kids, or you definitely don't believe the same thing politically, there's somewhere that we've gotten off track so bad that it sits there and goes, not only do I have a right, but I almost have a duty to hate the other person then. And we want to reject everybody who's not like us. And then just, I feel like we're supposed to be here to at least lift each other up, regardless of what our backgrounds are. But we're in a world right now that just says, hey, just because we're different, I have the right to hate you. And it's just, I'm sick of it, personally. I think that you're very intelligent and you're very calculated and also you're very compassionate too. That's what I think a lot of people would just look at you now and say, all right, here's a guy that's saying he's an atheist. That's what he proclaims. So not only in the Christian world, not only are we not going to have anything to do with him, we're going to try to publicly shame him and discredit every good quality about you. I think. Is that kind of a fair assessment how that went?
That was very, very accurate. Apostasy is looked down on in any ideology. And I think we had the discussion last time we spoke. A good thing I don't live in Afghanistan, because there'd be a good chance that I would be killed by the peers of my previous religion. Fortunately, I'm in America where the alternative is to shame the person and try to take credibility away from them. I know that one of the most common rebuttals I got, and I expressed a while ago how hard the decision was. Everyone said that he was never a Christian in the first place. If only I had $1 for every time I have heard that. He was never a Christian in the first place. God never worked with him or anything like that. And I mean, you know how passionate I've been about Jesus Christ.
Well, I'll just say on this level, I've really seen, me personally, I've seen Jesus move in your life. And that's just my perspective. I've seen him work through you. And I don't know if you agree with that or not, but, that's something that I've witnessed. And I can speak to every hater out there saying that he was never a Christian. No, you definitely were.
It's like the no Scotsman fallacy. No true Scotsman would ever do such a thing.
Okay.
And
so you're like the Benedict Arnold of...
That's how they want to paint the picture. But, I think that whenever someone decides to say that they're an atheist, in a big way, it's a simple statement of accountability. I've chosen that we are accountable for our own actions, and that there is no other saving grace other than us. We are in charge of that. And it's not too far-fetched of a statement to claim, but it's just like whenever it boils down to something like rejection. I think that whenever you reject a person personally, they feel feelings of frustration, anger, confusion, and whenever you reject their God, they coincidentally have the exact same reactions: frustration, confusion, and anger, along with an assortment of other similar behavior. So it's not so much surprising that I was treated that way, but it is a bummer, a bummer that I have people that I was friends with that do not speak to me anymore. I have friends that don't want me around their children. I have people that will go out of their way to discredit anything I do now. People that used to stand behind me and supported me, and someone that I could have told 2 years ago, hey, I just killed someone, will you help me bury the body? And they'd be like, I'm on it. Now I can be like, hey, I just got an A on my history test, and they go, oh, you arrogant ass. So it's a matter of perception. It really is, and I think that America, modern Christianity, is moving away from the hateful attitude they have towards apostasy, but it's still a very actual reality.
Well, and I think I don't think it's the apostasy issue solely. I think it's a sickness in the character of Christianity that it's not just whenever people denounce their faith. It's whenever we make a mistake, period. I mean, I felt that, maybe not to the level of you did.
Oh, I guarantee you felt it to the same level.
And, I went through some stuff a couple of years ago. And so I know what it's like whenever, Christians that these are your brothers and sisters, and you're going to fight to the end, ride or die homies. And let one thing come down that it doesn't have to be something as extreme as saying, hey, I'm denouncing my faith. It could be something as simple as I've made a mistake, I've gotten a divorce, or had an affair, or got a DWI, or whatever it is. That's the bigger issue that I really want to address. That's kind of why, that's why we sat down, and whenever I approached you about this a couple of weeks ago, I think it's why me and you are such good friends, is like, that I'm going to talk about Jesus at some point, and I know that you're going to talk about things that aren't about Jesus, and we don't sit there and we don't have fights and we don't argue. I believe everybody's on their own personal journey. At the end of this life, even so, you're saying, you believe that it's only up to you. And then along the same lines of that, I say it's only you that will stand in front of God one day, And so we don't believe in that area that personal responsibility is a huge issue on both sides of that arena.
True.
And I just think it's sad, man, and we've got to stop. I really think that, we called this series How to Make America Great Again. So I think maybe a couple of weeks ago, whenever we was talking, I'd mentioned this. I said, the religion, as I know it to be, is not very attractive to me. It's not. It's an institute that part of it's not. And I said, the thing that really attracts me was the teachings of Jesus. And I feel like if we're going to be Christians, and that literally means like little Christ, we're his followers, that maybe we should start listening to the teachings of Jesus a lot more, and living by that, because he would throw the religious establishment on its ear, whenever he told the story of like the Good Samaritan, saying church people wouldn't even help somebody that was beaten up. It was one of their own. Mm-hmm. But it was some guy that, that the Jews hated, the religious people hated. And so they had to have freaked out whenever Jesus told them this story, about the Good Samaritan. And so I really feel like we've got to get back to some sort of semblance of, like, Christians from the outside world looking in, the outside world's perspective, a lot of times, the stuff that you say that these people shine to, or that shines to these people, like, hey, all America really knows about Christianity, if you're not a Christian, is They're religious nut jobs. They hate homosexuals. They're all Republicans for the most part, or something like that. And I think it's chaotic, you know. I really feel like we got to stop being such jerks. And we're jerks whenever we say, yeah, but that other person's this way and I'm that way. And I'm sitting here screaming, going, no, we got it all wrong. Why are we... I feel personally, my deep conviction and faith is that we should be leading the way in generosity. We should be leading the way in kindness. We should be leading the way in forgiveness and compassion. But often we dive into this hate-filled speech and saying, because I don't like your behaviors, you're evil and I reject you, and we start yelling at the top of our lungs, which I don't get. Every time that we shoot a wounded person, you know, every time somebody in our faith kind of screws up, the overall Christianity community as a whole is very quick about like exiling that person or shaming them into such a point of like, oh, well, you can come back, but you're going to jump through 50 million hoops that I deem appropriate. And I think it's just bizarre. It's so far gone from the teaching of Christ. Does that make sense to you?
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. It was Muhammad Gandhi, and we spoke about this. He said that I like your Jesus, but I don't like your Christians. And whenever things happen in a group, or whenever an individual does something in the name of that group that doesn't go along with what they should, so we'll say abortion bombing. Whenever an abortion bombing happens, the Christian community is so quick to disavow this guy as being one of their own. Dude was never a real Christian. He was delusional. He didn't have this, but
extreme out on the fringes. Yeah,
they take no accountability for all of the bad imaging of abortion that they've painted as an evil consistency. It's almost like, what else did you expect to happen? You know, and not all Christians do this, but especially politicians that are trying to get that vote. They'll pander to the anti-abortionists, and to the point that it makes people do this. And what the funny thing is whenever we see Muslims doing the same thing, that we see a radicalized Muslim, the same as a radicalized Christian that bombs abortion, that we paint the whole entire Muslim community with this. And we say, though, this is a problem with their book, this is a problem with their religion. But and the same thing happens with the atheist side too. You know, they can sit around and be complete d***s or something like that, and they'll say, well, these people aren't part of us. And in a big way, I wish that, you know, groups would take accountability on themselves, because I can see I've seen someone come up to me with a completely preposterous approach, standing next to someone that has the same belief as them, but the person that's being reasonable does not stand up and say, hey, you're acting out of line. You're acting out of line. Hey, you know, try to check them. And I think that's one of the biggest things. Well, we're so worried about checking the other group that we don't take time to check our own group.
Well, I think that what happens is I think we feel like we want to point out the hypocrisy in other people, but not see it in our own, in the mirror. And I'm a hypocrite, and you're a hypocrite.
No, I'm not, dude. I know what you mean. We're all hypocrites.
You know, I believe deeply about the sanctity of life, that every life from the moment of conception is valuable. But then, I'll tell you, I'm just being honest, I'll turn around and say, I'm pro-death penalty. You know? And so there's hypocrisy. There's this, and we all have it. And instead of, I think, shaming each other's hypocrisies and pointing it out and just magnifying everybody's hypocrisy in life, just get over the fact that we're all hypocrites on some level. No matter what we believe, no matter, everybody's got a hypocritical spot in their life somewhere. In the way that they think, the way that they speak, the way that they act, I've yet to meet one that wasn't a hypocrite, and so I think we just got to get over ourselves, all of us, all groups, whether it's, I hate labels even. I hate the labels of, all right, well, this group is just if we want a great community, we got to stop segregating and labeling everybody. All right, this group over here don't hang out. It's like a high school cafeteria, but now we're doing it as grown-ups. Instead of the punk rockers over here and the skaters over here and all this, now we're going, all right, the Christians are over here, and we're going to put the Muslims over there, and we're going to put the atheists over there, and we're going to put the Democrats over here. And it's like a grown-up high school cafeteria, and it's sad because the message I want to get out to everybody is we can still, like, Shannon, there is not a whole lot of things on a lot of issues that me and you probably agree on 100% at all. But the truth is, at the end of the day, you're my brother, and I do love you, and I feel like I'm your brother, and I feel like you love me, and we can sit down and have this conversation. I think the conversation, nobody wants to sit down and have a conversation because they're too busy yelling at each other. Like, let's just get down at the table, have a beer and figure it out, or whatever it is. But everybody just wants to scream and nobody wants to be reasonable. And hey, look, we all inhabit this place. You don't share my faith, but you're one of the more compassionate people I know. Shannon looks all tough, I think. I mean, he's showing off his guns and stuff or whatever. No, but you got the tattoos and you got the kind of the Elvis kind of look going too, which I think is really cool. So you got this tough guy persona, but I see you. I've seen you cry at the drop of a hat. Whether especially, you'll tear up every time you talk about your daughter, and you're super compassionate. But nobody wants to sit down and get to know. Here's what I tell everybody. Everybody's behind every set of eyes you see, there's a soul behind that. And don't discount the soul.
I'm going to go back. I definitely want to agree with you on the title part. That is probably one of the main things of whenever I said I was like somewhat in the closet about being an atheist. It's that title. And I believe it was Neil deGrasse Tyson that said, once you take on a title, you are therefore assigned all the baggage and all of the excess crap that comes along with that title. So people are assuming so many things about your stance before you even have a conversation. And as human beings, we have a tendency we want to understand. We insist on understanding. Even whenever there's not a pattern there, our minds make a pattern for us to be able to explain what's happening in front of us. Mm-hmm. So it's easier for us to use titles because whenever we use a title, you don't have to go through all of the strenuous effort of learning about that person. I can say that I'm an atheist, and someone can take on all these assumptions, and they don't even have to discuss a lot of things with me. And the same thing with if you were to take on the title of Republican or anything like that. Political, religious, even academic. Whenever you take on a title, you are therefore assumed.
I don't think we're going to ever be able to shed the titles and the labels.
No,
but I think that as whatever we all identify with, whatever labels or titles that we do knowingly take on, I think we need to all understand that there's a responsibility for, as a representative of that title, it would be just like you, like I'm a pastor. I've still got to represent that label. I don't like everything that goes. There's a lot of days where I was just like, I just want to go somewhere where I'm not a pastor, But I understand that at the end of the day, I've consciously made a decision to take on this label or this title. And even though I don't like all the stuff that goes along with it, I have a responsibility to that label. And just like you have a responsibility, I mean, you're a father. It's a responsibility. You have that responsibility to not just be the typical divorced father that's out of your child's life. I mean, that's what a lot of people think. All right, well, guy girl gets together, has baby, guy girl splits, and there's so many deadbeat dads out there, and it's so sickening the fatherless generation that's being raised out there, or that's being brought up. And so I'm glad you had a responsibility with that title of father, and you took it seriously, and I commend you for that. I think no matter what our title or our labels are, if we'd all take some personal responsibility and do the best we can with those labels and help shed some of this, we're going to bring some baggage on, but our jobs are not to add to the baggage, but maybe lighten the load. Regardless of what path we take in life, it's one thing I almost guarantee, it's not going to be easy. Everybody's got a burden in life, and so I just believe in, we do the best that we can with what we've been given. And whenever there's hiccups, whenever we all hit bumps in the road, whether it's maybe it's a financial loss, or maybe it is a crisis of faith that takes you a different direction. Whenever people are, I don't believe, regardless if they're Christian or otherwise, of kicking and spitting on a person while they're quote unquote down. You know what I'm saying? Like, it should be all of our job as humanity, as people that's taken as one grown response. I feel like I'm a grown kind of responsible man, not in all areas, and you too. We have that responsibility to lift each other up and overcome differences. And
it is something that I think if people could learn how to embrace their diversities a little bit better, they would be able to have a lot more interesting conversations. Because who wants to sit around and have a conversation with someone that believes exactly how you believe all the time?
To the critics, they're going to say, all right, well, yeah, they can sit down like that because he's a very passive pastor and doesn't bring up his faith. We talk about faith all the time. I still, what I'm saying? It's like, oh, well, our relationship's not one to where we're scared to walk into each other and say, I think it's because we care about each other, and we just go.
We have a respectful vocabulary whenever we're speaking,
Yeah, we don't go into any, but we're not scared of each other, you know what I'm saying? Because there's nothing to be scared of.
Yeah.
And so I don't have to be like, oh, I can't talk about Jesus. Well, you already know that's who I am, and I know who you are, we can still represent and be true to who we are and not be scared of somebody who doesn't believe the way that we do. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Well, I appreciate you coming in.
Oh, no problem. I've had a good conversation.
So I really believe that conversation is important. And for anybody out there that might be disappointed in me of saying, oh, well, you're not trying to convert, and go kick rocks. You know what I'm saying? Like, you do your thing, and I'm just going to choose not to be yelling with a bullhorn all my life at people who think differently than I do. Shannon's my friend, has been for 8 years, and he's going to be for a lot longer unless he decides that we need to break up, which would be kind of weird. He helped build this church. He really did. Really did. And for any hate, like I said in the video, any haters out there say, well, he was never a true Christian. What exactly does that statement make you? So I'm just crazy enough to believe that not all who wander are lost. And you're not going to win any fights out there by just spewing hate-filled junk at each other. The currency of the kingdom of God is relationship. It really is. It's love and relationships. And so that's whenever people can't control that, they tend to manipulate it and just kind of check out. I'm taking my ball and I'm going home. And we've really got to stop. We really do. We've got to stop. This country is very much divided. It really is. Shannon says, well, the alternative to basically execution in other countries is it's the better alternative, the shaming. Well, I'm not sure that's a whole lot better. It's better than dying, but we've just got to stop, period, the end. We can't. The day of social media of giving everybody it's funny how everybody found their voice through their fingertips, huh? And let's see how loud, if I can type louder than you, then I win. Nah, we're being idiots. We gotta stop. And I'll tell you this, another part of the conversation that happened that Shannon said, he was talking about all the people that discredit him and stuff like that. And I told him, I said, well, you might not like it, but he says, I like you. I think we have a better relationship now that you're not my pastor. I'm like, I'm still your pastor, Shannon. I know you might not like it, but I still pray for you. And I still pray over you. And I still believe God is doing big things in your life. I've watched him do it, and I believe that he's going to do it again. And so I pray things like the Word of God, when it says that no one can be snatched from the hand of God. And you might not believe that, but I still stand on that. And he respectfully, we don't believe the same thing. What do you do with that? And he says that he still loves this church and he still feels comfortable with this church. I said, I think it's pretty cool in this little small podunk hick town. And that's literally, that's all Joplin is a glorified hick town. Seriously. The only difference between us and Mayberry are the amount of rednecks here, all right? I think it's pretty cool in this little town that a guy, if you know Shannon, he's very opinionated, he's very outspoken, and so me and him are like two worlds colliding sometimes. But I think it's pretty cool that a very openly professing atheist has a home church still. I said, that's the way it should be, right? Church shouldn't be reserved for Christians, people. If you believe, if you're of that old school, well, the Bible says it and I believe it and that's it, that conversation doesn't work on an educated person. It just doesn't. And so you really got to think through what you believe and why you believe it, and you better be living with some conviction no matter what you believe. Because you will be tested one of these days. You realize there's Christians literally being beheaded around the world right now? Because of what they believe? Are you sure? Are you sure you're where you say you are? I don't know. I think it's important to have these type of conversations. Intelligence has never hurt us. It's not the pursuit of knowledge. That can get us in a lot of trouble. We should be pursuing wisdom. It's what to do with that knowledge. You can be the book smartest person in the world and be the world's biggest idiot if you don't know how to apply it properly. And so we should all be looking for wisdom in the way that we speak, the way that we interact, the way that we just do life with other people, and we'll go a lot further, I promise you. And so, anyways, I want to thank my friend Shannon. I love him. He's here, and I won't embarrass him at all, but I just did. And he's always welcome here, you know what I'm saying? And it's good to have all your buddies home sometimes.